Hey everybody, ABC 10 meteorologist Brendan Minchev. I've got a really nice 4th of July in the forecast. I mean, the nicest day of the next 10. It's going to be hot for one more day, but not as hot. Thursday is going to be seasonal. We've been in the mid to upper 90s. That's anywhere from about 3 to 5 degrees warmer than normal for the time of year. But we're going to be in the low 90s across much of the valley on Thursday, which is right at or maybe even a little below where we'd expect to be for the time of year. We'll also have some clouds passing through. More on that in a second, but I just got to jump to Friday and talk about the holiday because I've got a forecast high of 86 on Friday. That is below normal because the average high is 92. So we're going to be running about 6 degrees cooler than normal across Sacramento and most of the valley by the time we get to Friday. If you had to pick a day that you would want to be the nicest day in the foreseeable future, of course you'd want it to be the holiday. And that's exactly what we've got. So more on the 4th of July in a minute, but I just do want to update a few things because when we talked on Monday, talked about the forecast on Monday for most of this week, we're talking about thunderstorms and that chance for the isolated severe storm even in the high country on Wednesday. That did happen where Wednesday afternoon we saw a severe thunderstorm roll through South Lake Tahoe. The good news is going into the holiday, I'm not really expecting any more rain or thunder across Northern California. This is Futurecast early in the morning on Thursday. Just some clouds passing through, maybe some brief drops of water, right? I mean, just sprinkles in parts of the East Bay towards Livermore, maybe 580 if you're headed out there early Thursday morning. That's going to be about it. Clouds do continue, though, as we head through Thursday afternoon. So a mix of sun and clouds on Thursday, but we're not looking at the thunderstorms across the Sierra. Maybe an isolated shower, but it just is not going to be widespread up there. And then by the time we get to Friday, we're looking at clear skies across Northern California, which is good if you're off to a fireworks show on Friday evening. Here are those winds, a little breezy through the Wednesday, Thursday overnight period. But look what happens Thursday afternoon. We're going to get a very nice delta breeze, so we're already cooler, right? Because highs only in the low 90s Thursday afternoon, and then we get an even nicer breeze. Thursday evening is going to be feeling very pleasant out there. But I do want to point out just how strong those winds are going to be across the high country because that is going to create some issues if you're headed up to Lake Tahoe. If you're headed further east, we're looking at some wildfire concerns because of how windy and how dry it will be. Here in the valley, it's just that standard delta breeze, breezy Thursday night into Friday morning. And then once we get to Friday evening, we're looking at that similar setup where we get a very strong delta breeze on the way in. Here's what I was talking about, though, as it relates to that fire danger. We got a red flag warning for the eastern slope of the Sierra, basically 395 off to the east and then into the state of Nevada. This is because of those wind gusts, 35 to 45 miles per hour, and that relative humidity just 10 to 15%. So this red flag warning begins at noon on Thursday and ends Friday at midnight. So it's basically just 12 hours, but it is going to be a very gusty 12 hours with not a lot of humidity, so that elevated fire danger. But for Lake Tahoe specifically, there is a lake wind advisory for Thursday afternoon and evening. Wind gusts about 35 miles per hour are going to create waves of 1 to 2 feet, some choppy waters, and the potential for hazardous boating. So just be careful. If you're getting a jump start on the long weekend, you're going up to Tahoe on Thursday, just keep in mind it is going to be windy, and we are going to see waves of 1 to 2 feet on the lake. Again, just something to keep in mind if you're headed to the high country. Here is why we've got this pattern change. We've had a weak low pressure bringing us that kind of increased moisture, that thunderstorm chance across the far north and then central Sierra. But that's moving out of here. In fact, the whole system is changing as high pressure slides further to the east. That system moves out. We get another one passing through the Pacific Northwest for the 4th of July. That's bringing us some seasonal temperatures. We're not really expecting anything in the way of rain as we talked about, but it is bringing our temperatures down, and it lasts through the weekend before it starts to move out. So once that moves out, we're talking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, high pressure is going to start to build back in. That's going to send our temperatures climbing, and we could see temperatures close to the triple-digit mark by the end of next week, if not a little bit above. So it is going to get much warmer. But for Friday, no matter where you are across Northern California, things are going to be very nice. Here's your 4th of July high temperatures, 76 in Pollock Pines, 77 Forest Hill, 84 in Auburn, 86 in Jackson. You're headed up to the lake, 72 on Friday for the 4th of July in South Lake Tahoe, 71 in Truckee. In the southern Sierra, maybe you're off somewhere like Yosemite. It'll be about 78 in Yosemite, 86 in Mariposa. The 80s, upper 70s, low 80s, no matter where you look in the southern Sierra. And then as you work your way down into the lower elevations, 91 in Merced, 94 in Fresno. But maybe you're headed to the Central Coast. It will likewise be very, very nice. About 70 in Morro Bay, 76 Big Sur, just 59 in Carmel, 61 in Monterey, about 66 Salinas, 73 in Santa Cruz, 81 in Gilroy. Across the valley, it is going to be warmer in the lower valley, 94 in Hanford, 95 in Colingua, 94 in Mendota. So again, it is going to be warmer in the valley if you're headed to the lower valley, 96 in Bakersfield, but along the coast, if you're headed to Yosemite, things are going to be very, very nice. In the Bay Area, 75 San Jose, about 59 in Pacifica, 59 Half Moon Bay as well, 63 in San Francisco, 68 in Oakland, 85 Tracy, 85 in Vacaville on Friday afternoon, 80 up in Santa Rosa. All along the coast, it's going to be fairly cool, 58 in Fort Bragg, 58 up in Eureka as well, 59 Crescent City, Wairika, 79. If you're headed up to Shasta Lake, it's going to be about 90 degrees, perfect weather up there, right? 90 in Redding, about 89 in Red Bluff, the Northeast Plateau, about 76, 81 Susanville, 77 in Quincy, Lassen, about 66 on Friday for the 4th of July. So I will just reiterate for what I think is the third time, no matter where you are going, the weather is going to be very nice. Across the Sacramento Valley and the San Joaquin Valley, temperatures in the 80s. Got about 86 in Sacramento, very similar temperatures in Stockton and Modesto. Across the metro area, maybe you're just staying home. That average is 92. We are going to be in the mid to upper 90s. The best day of the next 10 by far. But the weekend's not bad either. We go from the mid 80s to the upper 80s and low 90s on Saturday, so staying at or below seasonal for the time of year. Slightly warmer on Sundays. We get back into those low 90s, some places in the mid 90s, but the whole weekend is going to be very nice. The one thing I will say, just make sure you're being extra careful if you're grilling, if you're going to have anything with an open flame, if you're going to have a campfire, and of course, fireworks are always big for the 4th of July. Just be very careful with all those things because the grasses are so dry. It will not take much for a fire to start. And if we're talking about the high country as well, things are starting to get drier across the coastal range and the Sierra. So although it's not as dry as the valley, it is getting there. So it's just important to remember to always be fire safe. And I also want to kind of compare and contrast a little bit because if you think back to this time last year, the first 12 days of July were very warm. 10 of those first 12 days had a high temperature of at least 100 degrees. The other days were basically in the upper 90s. The average high temperature for the first 12 days of July 2024 was 104.4 degrees in Sacramento. Put that differently, if you kind of spaced out the temperature and gave each day even amounts of afternoon heat, every single day for 12 days in a row, it'd be 104 degrees in Sacramento. The hottest we got was July 6th and July 11th when we made it to 110 degrees. This was a pretty historic stretch of heat that we had to start last July. So I think it just makes us appreciate even more the forecast that we have this year because, again, it is even below normal for the time of year. In the foothills, about 82 for the 4th of July, 72 up in the high country, but again, it stays nice all weekend long. Mid to upper 80s Saturday and Sunday in the foothills, mid to upper 70s in the high country Saturday and Sunday. Here in the valley, I will say that it's just going to be absolutely perfect for the 4th of July. 90 on Thursday, but 86 for the holiday. 89 on Saturday. We stay in those upper 80s and low 90s on Sunday. But it does get warmer next week. Like we talked about, high pressure is going to build back in, so temperatures are going to get close to 100 degrees, if not a little bit above that by the time we get to the end of next week. But that is next week's problem. We're focusing on the holiday on Friday and the very seasonal weekend ahead. Thanks for watching.